Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome to the Clarity Hotline. Let's get Instagram on. I gotta keep both screens open. Welcome, welcome to Clarity, clutter-free family to the Clarity Hotline. I'm a little bit scrambled today because I got some really sad news. But I'll let you guys know what happened, but in a second. I just want to welcome you here and say it's been a while. Wow, 2 weeks, I think. I haven't done a Clarity Hotline, so I definitely missed you guys. Please let me know how you're doing. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on. I'm looking at both YouTube and Instagram, so bear with me here. Thanks for coming on. And I just want to know if you could tell me, if you're watching this and you are an entrepreneur mom, especially if you are an entrepreneur who turned mom. So entrepreneur turned mom, please let me know, because I'd love to know who I'm talking to, because that's me. And I get a lot of questions about, how do you do it? How do you run a business and have toddlers at home? And honestly, this is how I do it. I got my my firstborn home sick, and this is how we do it, right? You either give them an activity, you put a movie on, you let them know what you're doing, that it's important to you, that you be, you're not going to be as available for this amount of time, not that they comprehend that sort of thing yet, time, but you just kind of give them a heads up. You let them know, hey, mommy's got this, it's very important, and set them up with snacks and but anyway, yeah, so you might see the pitter patter of a 5-year-old coming in here, and we're just gonna roll with it. But thanks for coming on. I see you. All right, so let's get into just kind of our present moment awareness. Let's take a breath in and a breath out. In and out. My exhale was longer than my inhale on purpose, because that, if you've been with me through these Clarity Hotlines, you know that I'm cueing that, because it really is a great anxiety release to have your exhale longer than your inhale. It really does calm the heartbeat. Thanks for coming on. So anyway, take your breaths in. Be here with me now if you can. So I'll let you in on some questions while you are breathing. The questions for today are, how do I find my purpose? And then, why is it so hard to stick to habits that I start? We've got some follow-up questions to some of that ADHD content I put out a couple weeks ago, that we had a question. Jay Shetty asked a question about ADHD, and I was like, let me take a stab at this, because I don't know anything. But it's just, sign of the times that we're getting more aware of ADHD, autism, neurodivergence, that kind of thing, and understanding that, in my personal opinion, is that more the norm? Have we been ignoring it all these years? And everyone's different. There is no such thing as neurodivergent, or there's no such thing as neurotypical, right? In my personal opinion, because I just feel like if we all took the test and did the assessments, we would find that there's something that resonates really deeply with characteristics of any kind of, mental health. They're calling it disorders, but I want to just say, becoming aware of the status of our minds, like what we're here born with, as far as the capacity of our brains to do what you tell me is the way I should be acting, right? You tell me I should behave this way, and I'm supposed to just automatically behave that way. It seems far-fetched, right? If we had our druthers, I like using that word, by the way, druthers. If we had our druthers, then, would we sit in a classroom for, 4 hours? I don't know how long. There's quite a bit of study on kids having outdoor time, recess time more often. So they definitely have factored that in to the school system and the school structure, because you'll see a lot of stuff on Instagram and TikTok about, homeschooling. Like that's just the way to go. And I think that that is definitely one way to go, homeschooling your kids. It's not the only way to go. I believe that schools more and more are partnering with parents on, hey, what's the best way? How does this kid learn? Let's figure it out. Let's figure it out together so that we can provide that environment that allows for equal access to education. And it is there, you can't give equal access to education if you are not factoring in how somebody learns. That is education. You have to factor in how somebody learns in order to, provide the environment conducive to them learning. And so, yeah, it's a lot, right? You got what, 20 plus kids in a room. Hey, yeah. I don't know if you saw the news, but I actually have to tell. Welcome, YouTube. Yeah. So anyway, to say like, that's one teacher with 20 plus kids, all with different learning styles. And yeah, I think there is, just like in the language, like learning a language, immersion is how you learn. It's like you just kind of like shed what isn't really the friction. You shed the friction to learning the language by immersing yourself where there is no other option but learning the language. And so, you stick a kid in that social setting of a school classroom, and they adapt, right? And where they're not able to adapt, that's where we come in. That's where we step in. Like, okay, there's something really difficult here. That's like, two gears grinding together that just they're not meshing. It doesn't work. So let's address that. What do we do? How can we do that? And, it's a whole thing. But anyway, all that to say, I don't think we'll make it to that follow-up question on ADHD. I'll probably maybe get to it next week, because I do want to get to the purpose questions. How do we feel about the breath? Are we here now? The more time you do that, the inhale and the exhale, intentional, deep, big breaths, at least 3 in a row, maybe with closed eyes, even better, the easier that calibrates your whole system and brings it back to like a baseline, as if you just woke up, from a nice, good, long sleep, restful sleep. That is what we want. So the more we practice that behavior of breathing in, breathing out, it's like I want to do that more in front of my kids so they know that that's how we do things. Because I didn't know that, growing up in my household, that was not the reaction to take a deep breath in, breathe, deep breath out. There was definitely a different reaction to, stress. And so, I think we've got to model the behavior. It's just period. We got to model the behavior that we want to see in our kids, period. And I am pointing out that this outfit is now my new Clarity Hotline uniform, at least for now. Okay. Just FYI. I know you're thinking it. I knew you were questioning it. It's on purpose. Okay. Okay. So some of the sad news, why I came on here, because I don't want to continue without addressing this, especially if my friends are coming on and seeing me talk, because someone passed away yesterday, and we were really close friends, and we lost touch over the last few years, several years, I want to say, maybe last 5 years or so, which coincides with me becoming a mom and having a totally new schedule and lifestyle. Especially COVID also changed things for a lot of people. COVID totally, I think, altered friendship dynamics and what's acceptable, right? Like getting away with just texting here and there, or DMing here and there, and that's it, and that's enough. I know social media ushered that in, but definitely COVID, I think, made it really normal to just check in that way. And anyways, enough to say that I haven't talked to her in a while, and I just learned that she passed away yesterday. And I'm in disbelief. I'm in shock, and I'm holding back the tears because what I want to what I want to address is like, you know, we get so attached to these silly bodies, and we wonder why anybody has to leave sooner than it feels appropriate for their age. So just, I think, I think we're gonna miss her, and I know we're gonna miss her because she's a light. She definitely was a light in the world. So I don't know. Me, I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole of like trying to understand this, because um, my dad died earlier this year, and then now a friend of mine passed away. So I don't know. It's interesting. Which brings me to the question of the day, really, because I'm running a purpose challenge right now. We're live this week, 5-day purpose challenge. And by the way, hi, thanks for coming on. Say your name, by the way, if I don't necessarily know you by your handle. So I'm running a purpose challenge, and yeah, we got a lot of questions. The first one being, how do I find my purpose? And that is the question of a lifetime. How do you find your purpose? Now, what is a life purpose? It's really, your passion, your values, your strengths, all kind of rolled up into something that you feel is your work in the world. Like it's like this is your mission, right? And it's not always going to be career oriented necessarily, but you can turn your purpose into your career, your vocation, your occupation, kind of what you do that has meaning for you in exchange for revenue, income, a lifestyle, right? A livelihood, you making a living. And so that's what kind of purpose is. It's like this underlying theme in your life where really everything you do, work or not, kind of is inspired from this place. It's like your mission in the world. And I got a sneaky way. If you're in the challenge, you'll know I've got a sneaky way of going about finding your purpose, because everyone's got some theory on how to find your purpose. A lot of times it's like, okay, just, look at your passions, list them down, what are your core values? And, just process all that and try to figure out, what your purpose statement would be. Well, there's a lot more to it. With finding your purpose, it's kind of what's in the way of purpose too. Like, what have you started to borrow or believe about yourself and the world that would prevent you operating in your purpose? Because that's also there. So some decluttering of the mind and your beliefs that might stand in the way of you operating in your business, in your purpose. And I've got entrepreneurs in my purpose challenge right now, some, not all, but though, obviously, if you're an entrepreneurial spirit, you're going to want to turn your purpose into a career. You're going to want to make sure that your purpose is financing your entrepreneurial journey. You want to make sure that you are constantly checking back. And I cannot tell you the reverberation of how I'm putting this out into the world, me saying this kind of stuff since the dawn of time. It's now coming back to me from other people. It's like other people are getting it. And it's kind of this echo of like, you've got to make sure, if you want to live a happy life, if you want to build a dream business, you've got to anchor it back to your purpose. You've got to understand what your purpose is. And that's why, running this purpose challenge, which I do quite often, is so cool. And it's not always the same. I don't run people through the same stuff every single time. So this week is, different than I've ever done before. And I really do listen to the needs of the group, like who's in the group and what are their needs as far as, why do they want to find their purpose? What is the context around the question, what is my purpose? Because that also will sway you one way or the other. And we also have to when you do this work of finding your purpose, there's very much kind of this um, you've got to accept the work. You've got to be willing to do the work. And so in the week with me, like we're going through some pretty easy stuff. It's not anything that takes you too long to do, but these activities that, you really gotta stick to it if you want to come out with answers. And so anyway, I wanted to just touch on that. If you want to join the Purpose Challenge, I will put the link below for the next time I run it. You could be in on that. And, I might even let you in free if you sign up now. So, okay, so let's see. Vivian's question is, why is it so hard to stick to habits that I start? Well, so I hear this question and I immediately think two things. One, why are habits why is it so hard to stick to habits that I start? I think two things. One, is the habit too much of an overhaul? Is it not simple enough? And then two, are you reminding yourself what the purpose of having this habit be your new normal? And I think that's where mostly it will trip people up, is that you're not reminding yourself why you're trying to do this habit by seeing the vision of you living as though it's second nature. Meaning you regularly visualize yourself living and experiencing the results of this habit as though it's your new normal. And what does that mean? How does that look? What are you doing? Where are you going? Who are you with? How are you being? That's you having adopted this habit. So you picturing yourself 60 days from now having this as a habit. How does it feel? How does it look? What do you think about this as a new direction for your life? Having this habit. Now, in my One Simple Shift habit tracker, I'm encouraging everybody to slowly move into new habits by shifting one small 1% incremental change to their daily routine to fit this new concept in. Because what is a habit? It's just a new concept. It's a new mental construct as to this is how I want to be now. This is my new identity. I'm this person. I'm no longer the person who, I'm no longer the person who eats sweets after 8 p.m. I'm no longer the person who skips a workout routine. I'm no longer the person who smokes cigarettes. I'm no longer the person who drives fast, and gets speeding tickets. I don't know. Honestly, these are the kinds of things that you can start to shift your behavior so that it's no longer your normal. And it really is if you didn't want to speed, and Vivian didn't tell me anything about the habits that she wants, so I'm literally just pulling things out of thin air. But if you don't want to speed, then that is leaving a little bit early, right? Leaving 5 minutes earlier so you don't feel the need to speed and you experience the luxury of driving to work at the speed limit, right? What would it take for you to be able to drive the speed limit? There's your question right there. Because if I'm speeding, there's some urgency behind me, or I'm just an adrenaline junkie, and that's a different topic. Because then it's just okay, you need to compartmentalize these two things. You got hobby and regular driving on city streets, right? So understanding okay, well, yeah, if I didn't feel this urgency to try to get to work on time because I'm always running late, then everything is stacking on itself. And Atomic Habits, James Clear, he talks about habit stacking, not his concept, and it's not a new concept. It's just something that he made very accessible to a lot of people in a really well done book. Anyway, so habit stacking, it's kind of you've got this routine, right? And you're shifting a little bit. What does he call it? You're creating a new habit on top of something you're already doing. So if in the morning I go brush my teeth, well, I'm gonna add a new habit on top of brushing my teeth. It's gonna be praying. I'm gonna pray before I brush my teeth, because I get up out of bed and I go brush my teeth. Well, in that space between, I can add something, because then it's easy to do because I know I'm fitting it in, right? I've made room for it. I've given it a home inside my mind's version of how my day should go, and putting it, sliding it in there, making it fit, making it work. And then depending on how early you wake up, right, depends on, will determine how long that prayer session can last for before you have to get in there and brush your teeth so that you can go about the rest of your day. And a lot of times we're like, well, I need to pray or meditate for 20 minutes out the gate. Like, well, hold on, try 1 minute. It's like this all or nothing thing with habits, like it's just, we are, we're an aspirational society. We love to get somewhere. We love results. Headlines scream stats and data all over the place. And obviously we want to belong, right? It's like, so you don't want to be the outlier, the person who, you know, isn't, I don't know. I'm going too far left right now. Let's bring it back. Habit stacking, that's what he's saying. Now, when it comes to the shift I was talking about with shifting, you got to determine what the habit is. You've got to kind of see what that means as far as your day goes, and then small shifts. And that would be the 1 minute of prayer instead of the 20 minutes of prayer, and still feeling like that's a win. It's better to incrementally shift like that than try to go for that 20 minutes and just fall short and fail, so to speak. Like, oh, another habit I couldn't do. That's not what that, like, if anything, start with the minute and let that feel good. And the feeling good is going to be what drives you to 2 minutes tomorrow. And then when it starts to get a little bit too much, oh, wow, I'm getting really overzealous here, and I'm now trying to get 10 minutes of prayer or meditation in, and I haven't even really adjusted my schedule or my wake up time accordingly to factor that in. So you're really putting yourself at a disadvantage, not setting yourself up for success. Let's just move it from that 10 back down to 3 minutes. Let's try for 3 minutes. Okay, let's try for 4 minutes. And you can start to incrementally add and keep feeling good, keep getting those wins, those little micro wins, as you start to increase this, its role, its position, its place in your life. And also the meaning, right? It felt good, which means it has meaning for you. If something feels good, it has you're going to want to feel it again. Whatever, you're going to want to do it again. You're going to want to be around that person again. If you're feeling good as a result of being in that place, going to see those people, eating that food, you're going to want to feel that again. And so you're going to kind of chase this feeling. And we're just kind of chasing the feeling instead of recognizing, well, what about it brought me to life? What about that food brought me to life? What about that environment brings me to life? What about doing this thing, this work in the world, brings me to life and makes me feel like, oh, I'm living on purpose? That is where we want to be. And so when you look at that'll determine your shift, right? Because then you've kind of cleared the clutter around the root shift, the root behavior change that you want in your life. So all that to say, it's a little bit hard. I would download the One Simple Shift habit tracker. I'll include that in the description as well, but download that. It's free. And that'll give you some of the philosophy around what I'm telling you, what I'm saying around making habits that stick. And really, and it works in reverse too, removing habits that are just really not serving you anymore. It's a daily thing, because when you come up against that hard place of like, oh, this is hard, I can't keep doing this. Well, then there's an opportunity to start to shift and maybe take something away from the magnitude of change that it's requiring of you, and you just scale it back. So often we just want to like drive things forward and fast and without doing the slow internal deep work to know, like, is this even right for me? Because if it's not right for me and I'm driving so hard to the wrong place, I'm going to crash. I'm going to hit a wall and crash. And it doesn't have to be like that. Doesn't. But anyway, yeah, it's a lot to put on your body. It's a lot to put on your psyche. It's a lot to put on your way of life to take on a new habit, especially when you're uprooting something you've been doing for a very long time. So to expect you to just flip the switch and be all good again is going to be a lot. Hold on, let me see. Thanks for coming on, guys. I see you. Don't worry. So yeah, if you obviously I have pre-submitted questions that I like to answer, especially if you submitted on clarityhotline.com your question. I like to get to those. So thank you for doing that. And that is a little plug for anybody who wants to submit questions for the future Clarity Hotlines. You can do so on clarityhotline.com. Thanks for coming on. Okay, so did I cover that? Have you guys seen the show The Studio by Seth Rogen? That guy is masterful, Seth Rogen. And obviously, like, he's been around for a long time, but his show on Apple TV, The Studio, is incredible. You could tell the talent that he puts into that. I mean, just everybody's phenomenal. The acting's phenomenal. The set design's phenomenal. The direction, the cinematography, it's just absolutely a stunning, stunning show. And I was immediately captured. And it made me really, really respect Seth Rogen a lot. He won all those Emmys, which my friend had to tell me because I don't watch award shows. I'm not in the industry. I don't need to watch that, but I am always interested at the winners, obviously, because that's fun. And then if it's a show you haven't watched, you definitely want to watch it, right? Because you're like, okay, what's all the acclaim about? But anyway, so it won, and I just wanted to give him a little shout out. So shout out Seth Rogen and team, because you could tell that show is a team. And Apple TV is just really, really brilliant in their programming. I think I don't know. It's almost like that. The production house A24, also really big fan of them. It just seems like things are really thoughtful. You know, it's kind of like they're risky and avant-garde and adventurous, but they're also like they get the culture. They're trying to tap a vein, you know, as far as like, this content's not out there. You know, let's do it. Or if it has been out there, let's do it a different way. You could see that with them. And I did want to give Quinn on The Studio a shout out because that's her character name. Because when you see it's just it's such a good show. When you see the like character arc of some of the characters, like Quinn, her character had like this little bob. Well, after she goes through like kind of this very real time kind of toe to toe with the way the studios have been run in the past, it's like this new modern era up against this antiquated way, nepotistic kind of like, you know, running a studio and you know, what films get made and not get made, that kind of thing. Well, she goes toe to toe with that kind of like concept with another character. And anyway, after that happens, and in a way she wins, and she's super smart, really calculated, but it gets a little like, whoa, would she be fired for that kind of a thing? But no, I guess not. Anyway, her character cuts her hair in the next episode. And I find it really, I love the way, you know, you can work with the wardrobe department or whatever styling, and you can say, you know, this is what I think the character is going through. This is how we can in a snapshot address how Quinn has evolved just by cutting her hair, you know, or not even, and sometimes it's a wardrobe change or a new apartment for the character. I just love it. It's I don't know why I'm not in the industry. I'm not like an actor. That's not my vibe, but I just love the creative nature of the industry. And so I just wanted to give all of them a shout out. And if you're, if you also watch the show start to finish and you saw Seth Rogen accept the award and him not thank Sal Saperstein, it's really funny that he doesn't thank Sal Saperstein. I had to Google it and watch it on YouTube. His acceptance speech to see if he thanked Sal Saperstein. I literally went finding to look for it because I had to see if he did, and he didn't. And the reason why he didn't is because he said he thinks it's just kind of cheesy to comment on your own joke, and that's a joke from the show. So he says he's just, I guess he thinks it's corny, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know. It would have been kind of cool. It would have been like an homage. I understand maybe where the insecurity is. Like he's professional, right? He's trying to be professional. But there is kind of just a nod to the intense adoration the fans of the studio are. It would have been a nice little shout out. But I think his name is, what is his name? Ike Hoffman, Sal Saperstein's character's real name. And he was like, what? You didn't say, you didn't thank Sal Saperstein. Very funny. Very funny. Okay. Anyway, beside the point. What else? Okay. So should we get to, I guess we do have enough time for that. So Ray asks as a follow-up to that ADHD question, I'm also curious about ADHD, and I wonder if I have it, but I'm over 40, and so what does it matter now? And then also, do I have to take a test? I hate tests. So thank you for all of that context, Ray, because that is, I'm curious about ADHD. I was saying that in the video. I don't know a lot, but I'm just, I think in the sphere of mental health, which I consider myself being in some way. Maybe I'm more kind of on this spiritual side of mental health. I definitely am not an MD. I didn't study psychology. I studied consumer behavior, which has a consumer psychology component. And so I do feel like I've always studied the mind. I started yoga. I started the practice of yoga early on in my life as a way to bring back control of my mind, because I was a worrywart, just really prone to a lot of anxiety growing up. And I was like, okay, I got to get a handle on this. There's a long story around that too, but I won't go into it. But anyway, so I was like, I got to find ways to cope with this anxiety and kind of this worry that I kind of just always have on me, right? It became where I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop, everything just, and not to say that that's not really still part of who I am. I just have ways of coping and dealing and clearing away the chatter that wants to keep reminding me like, oh, this is going to go bad. Oh, no, it's not going to be good. Oh, it feels good now, but it won't stay good. I know to not resonate with that, right? I know not to identify or take it personal, those kinds of thoughts. And anyway, all that to say, I studied the mind early because in my life, I was just fascinated by the why of the buy, why people buy things, very much a psychological thing. And also like, just if we have the power of our minds, if we can control our thoughts for the most part, then why can't we have everything we want in this world? Why can't we create our own reality and create a life worth living? That's where it all came from. And then 20 plus years later, I'm, still doing it, still loving it, and still fascinated by kind of the medical avenue around mental health, but it is not without the spiritual aspect. You can't go so logical with mental health and forget the spiritual, forget the the ethereal, the essence, the nature, the vibration, the energy of mental health, because mental health is whole body health. And if you've got a strong self-awareness, strong mental health, um, and a confidence and an acceptance, self-acceptance, some people call it self-actualization. If you've got that, then there is whole body health, because you won't settle for less. You'll always be optimizing your life for the best feeling experience. And I think when we struggle with the alternative to a best life lived experience, then we're really struggling with something inside. And the state of our lives on the outside is always indicative of the state of our lives inside. How we're eating, how we're living, the clutter in our house, the clutter in our closets, the clutter in our drawers, the clutter in our cars, the clutter in our relationships, uh, the clutter in our grades, right? Our the educational component of our lives, like it's all part of the health of our internal state. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to kind of say. Why I am also curious, Ray. Thanks. So thank you for this answer. And I'm assuming I shouldn't assume. So I just will say the question is, um, I'm over 40, so what does it matter now? That's a good question, because I feel the same. What if I do resonate with something ADHD related, would I want to get tested right now? I'm also over 40. I don't think that I would. Um, I guess because I already know the things that I would want to be working on as far as my mental health. But the question goes on to say, I hate tests. So it sounds like there's a deeper fear here than just, finding out if you have ADHD. Obviously, if you think you have ADHD, you might, right? Because what do they say? The scientists, if they have a bias, will always kind of like impact the findings of the experiment. It's kind of will you keep going after the diagnosis as positive because you want to explain away what you've been through in your life all these years? Maybe there's some trauma attached to childhood where if you found out you're ADHD, you could be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And so there's some closure there and some acceptance and some compassion for yourself, having gone through that without knowing what you might have needed. And maybe compassion for your parents who also didn't know what you might have needed and just tried to kind of like sheep herd you into this one lane because everyone else is going there. And that's the way it's been proven to have a good job and be a good citizen. And it looks this way, right? Well, it doesn't, as we know now, with tech billionaires and people, moms starting businesses and creating 6, 7 figures from their home, in their pajamas. Like, so we know it's not impossible to achieve success of any kind when you are not typical. You don't typically express yourself or behave in a way that everyone else understands, that's comfortable for the teacher at the time, you know? And so it's a partnership, I think. I'm going back to the school thing. It's a partnership with the institution and the parent to help the child get what they need. Now, if you're 40, you're not necessarily partnering. You're just understanding yourself in order to partner with whatever interventions and tools and accommodations you might need for something like having ADHD. But if the test is what it's about, I would say then there's something deeper, right? Because if you don't want to take a test, there's confidence issues around that. And where in your life have you struggled against taking tests, because maybe you don't want to know the outcome? Uh, where in your life have rules held you back? And in a way, there's like a little bit of a rebellious nature toward rules. Is that what kind of the being afraid of taking tests has turned into? Um, because I think tests, honestly, Ray, you probably do. And I'm just saying, you probably do have ADHD because of the question. I mean, ADHD, those with ADHD, they say it's not easy to take tests. The focus required, the attention to focus on something you really don't want to be doing, like taking a test, where it's timed, there's pressure. You like to study things, and if you come up with a question that you don't know, it's like, oh, now I can't go study this. It's not an open book test, and are they judging me for the response that I put in? And if it's wrong, what does that bring my score to? I mean, there's so much that goes into it that can that's going to definitely interfere with the concentration necessary for taking a test and finishing it in the time at hand. And so what if the question really ultimately, I know there's a lot of underlying questions around your question, but what if you took the test and you found out that yes, you do have ADHD, some mild or moderate version of ADHD? What do you do? What does that tell you about yourself? How will it make you feel? Let's say you close your eyes and you visualize yourself getting a positive result for ADHD. You do have it, let's say, and how do you live your life from here on out with that diagnosis? Do you tell everybody, or do you keep it to yourself? Is it there's shame around it, or is it now time to be like, hey, this is why I have been the way I've been, or this is why I chose the career I did, because it was more conducive to what I'm most interested in. I followed my passion here. And so there's confirmation maybe by taking the test. And so you see yourself like thriving even more and not hiding behind your weaknesses, as far as like, oh, I have trouble focusing and concentrating. I can't sit in a boardroom or sit on the board of a business. I can't be CEO of my own business, that kind of thing. Well, yeah, it's all going to play in. However, a test isn't going to tell you that how to be. A test is just you just need some paper to tell you how you want to be, how you want to feel about yourself, what you want to tell other people about yourself. You already know. You've lived a long life. At 40 plus years old, you have enough life experience to be confident in where you've come from, and also to have compassion for those you've been around that maybe didn't have a clue how to be around you, to be your friend, to best be your friend and support you, to be your parent, to best support you, to be your teacher and best support you, because they weren't working with all the tools. You didn't know. Nobody was working with the full information. And so, yeah, it became difficult. And so I would just ask myself that, why am I taking this test? Why do I want to know? Is it a permission slip for some type of behavior that I'm putting off, that until I have it, I can't be that way? Well, I give you permission to be that way. Be the way that just lights your soul on fire, that just makes you feel like, oh, okay, I'm living life to the fullest. And, I wonder if there are parallels with purpose and mental health. The more we deny ourselves the access to living our full potential, which is what purpose is, and learning ways of working with what feels painful and finding solutions to feel better, that is, the purpose of life. That's the work of a lifetime, really. And if we are living our purpose, I don't know that there would be anybody, or how do I want to say this? Would we look at it? Or yeah, maybe we would still. I don't know. I will be down this rabbit hole, though. I'm still with you, Ray. I'm still going to probably be looking into this, because obviously it's within the scope of science that I'm interested in, because I'm not interested in all of science. Way over my head, and no thanks. Uh, but it is an aspect of mental health that I'm interested in. And like I said in the beginning, when you see a lot of accounts talking about homeschooling and, why are kids put in a classroom, that's very real. Putting kids in a classroom, I've read somewhere where, it behooves boys, and I'm a boy mom, it behooves boys to wait a little bit longer to be placed in a classroom than, say, for a girl, up to 2 years delay for a boy to be entered into a classroom environment where he has to sit still the entire day other than recess and lunchtime, and or whatever activity they do, but sit booty in a seat where you need to listen, pay attention, follow instructions, do the thing, da da da, this kind of like rote nature um, of existence inside the classroom. And I mean, honestly, why somebody who is really not thriving in that environment, of course, they're going to ditch school as a teen. Of course, they're going to not go to college, right? Because they were never given support in that type of environment. But if you just homeschool kids, well, then are you neglecting the opportunity to one day sit in a classroom? Or are where, like college, for instance, a lot of times homeschoolers do just perfectly fine and go to college and they do fine because they've matured and developed past the really uh, impressionable years. I don't know, the years where cognitive development is happening really fast, to the point where maybe they can't control their motor reflexes and their impulses and, their wandering mind as much as, say a 7-year old, if they're 3 versus 7, and a 7-year-old versus a 17-year-old, much different, right? I mean, a 17-year-old has earned a lot more hard knocks than, a 7-year-old. And however that has impacted the steering of their lives, is yet to be seen. There's so many theories, there's so many, I mean, people questioning, the right way to bring up a child. You see so much on parenting nowadays because the people on social media are parents a lot, and so they're spreading this kind of conversation. They're not only parents, I'm just saying, they're also on social media. And especially if the algorithm's feeding you what you tend to respond to and comment on and engage with, me as a parent, I am, then, it's going to keep feeding you that. So yes, it's absolutely very real. And the billions of people talking about this, that's why an algorithm is successful at continuing to give you this information, because a lot of people are spreading the message, the awareness around, like, what is best for our kids, homeschool or school? Well, it's not necessarily an either or game. Honestly, I don't believe. I believe in the school setting, if you are able to partner with the school and they're receptive to partnering with you and what you think about what you know about your child and how, and also what they're experiencing and what they come to know about your child. It's not a fight. It's just kind of this sharing and divulging of information, hopefully to other people who are just as interested and interested in protecting this child's cognitive development and health and well-being as you are. And hopefully every teacher is. If you're in that position, you have a heart for the development of kids in the right direction, in the way that they can thrive in life, right? They're given equal access to the things, the tools, the resources, the know-how, the techniques, the behavior skills that will serve them for the rest of their lives. If they're just as interested in that, then you've got a great partnership with your school. If you are homeschooling, then for me, I think about like, whoa, that's a lot of pressure to put on me. Because I mean, I'm already teaching, modeling behavior and that's I think my most important thing, modeling the behavior I want to see in them. And sometimes I'm just tired to even model good behavior. Sometimes I just want to be left alone. And that's also fair, and it's also normal, and it's also part of being a parent is like I need away from everybody. I need a reset, a recharge, and that means nobody can be in my ear about anything. So if you're wondering how mompreneurs do it, that's how we do it. We take breaks. I mean, that's how moms, period, need to do it. It's like, don't apologize for needing time away from parenting to just be with your own thoughts, to sleep, to rest, to decompress, to detach from the intensity of your role of raising these tiny humans into people that can fend for themselves in the world and have a fighting chance at survival and really given the best leg up to live the life of their dreams, one that's fulfilling and exciting and creative and rewarding, right? All of those things and healthy. They're in a healthy state. Like all those things we deal with on a daily basis for our kids, we're thinking that. And then we think of ourselves. So, it's a juggle. It's a juggle. We're juggling kids, clients, we're content, being on here and just connecting with the community. That is definitely why I do this. And so anyway, yeah, I missed you guys the last 2 weeks not coming on, and hopefully we can do this. It looks to be like we made it through the hour, and my son didn't come in here and ask me for anything. I guess he's in a good place with with all the snacks I gave him and the water. But no, he's a trooper. He's a good boy. I think that brings us to the end. Again, if you want to join the Purpose Challenge, I'll put the link in there for the next time I run the Purpose Challenge. I may be able to put a few more people into this challenge, but it depends on how quick we have your information to get you all that you need to make it so that we can have our little celebration and kickoff because it's 5 days on purpose. It's not 5 days worth of activities that you want to do in one day. We elapse the time on purpose. It's very much a purpose challenge that's done on purpose. And so there is intention behind everything we do in there. I'll put the link so that you can join the waitlist for next time if you missed this one. And then I'll also put the link for my One Simple Shift habit tracker that I referred to that will just really make changing your habits, bringing on some good, better feeling habits a lot easier. Trust me, if I could do it, a busy mompreneur can do it, you can do it. And I think that was all I referenced. So I'll make sure those links are in there. Oh, and then if you want to submit a question for the next Clarity Hotline, please do so at clarityhotline.com. I'd love to see your question come in. And yeah, we out. Thanks, fam. All right, see you next week, Tuesday, 12 noon Pacific. Peace. Sorry, YouTube, you always get my hand right in your face. See you next week. Peace.